Chris Galzo here with
Matt Howell. You wouldn't think that we've done this show for 4 or 5 years.
It's always great stumbling right out of the gate. On this episode of The First Round, Matt and I are going to discuss Suicide Squad. Finally, Matt, the DC Cinematic Universe is saved. We'll see. We're going to talk about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, our 50th anniversary discussion of Star Trek comes to an end with The Undiscovered Country. And then if you're a fan of the Twitters, you've seen the Empire magazine last week did a what are your 7 favorite films? So we're going to jump in on that as well. Because as usual, we're a week or so late.
Mm-hmm. That's all right, though.
That's right. So let's take a listen, though, to Suicide Squad and get this party rolling.
Just checking some work, but I finally have them. The worst of the worst.
Where?
Let's just say I put them in the hole and threw away the hole.
There's rumors, Amanda, that some of them have abilities.
Oh, yeah. I have seen things. Maybe Superman was some kind of beacon for them to creep back from the shadows. I want to assemble a task force of the most dangerous people on the planet who I think can do some good.
They're bad guys.
Exactly. And if anything goes wrong, we blame them. We have built-in deniability.
What makes you think you can control them?
Because getting people to act against their own self-interest is what I do for a living.
Matt, so why don't you start us off? Why don't you explain to the folks exactly what is the Suicide Squad? What's this movie about? What's going on?
Well, so you're gonna give me the hard questions? You're gonna give me the hard questions to try to start off with?
I just want you to do a synopsis of the film. Is that hard for you?
For this film, yeah, a little bit. I guess if you want me to get into the plot. But basically what this is government is concerned about superpowered characters or superpowered individuals like Superman, so they decide to create a task force of the worst people, I guess, that they think that they can control, most of which don't have superpowers, but I digress. And then basically, supervillain shows up and they are sent in to stop it.
Right. So this is a group, right? They can, if everything's failed, they can disavow.
Right.
They have nothing to do with it, and they're the baddest of the bad, Matt. We got Will Smith as Deadshot. We have Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. We have Jay Courtney.
Woo!
Jay Courtney, who we are not big fan. Him and Sam Worthington, who I think are the same person, at least personality-wise. They're basically cardboard. It's like putting a cardboard cutout in your movie, having Jay Courtney or Sam Worthington. Jay Hernandez is El Diablo. You have Waylon Jones playing Killer Croc, right? Cara, I always mess this up, Delavine. She's the Enchantress. Of course, you have Karen Fukuhara, who plays Katana. And then Adam Beach, the star of this film, as Slipknot. You have, of course, Joel Kinnaman is your Colonel Flag, the ragtag lead, or the leader of the ragtag group. I got to put those words in the proper order. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have Viola Davis, who is the originator of all this madness. She is Amanda Waller. Unlike the comics, and Amanda Waller down at least 300-400 pounds. But good for you.
There you go.
So, Matt, Suicide Squad, all right? So this is supposed to be based because when all things are hopeless and you don't want to lose anybody and you want to disavow, you send them this group because if a bunch of them die, who cares? They're horrible, horrible people. Mm. So as I opened up the show, Matt, there were hopes that maybe this would put the DC Cinematic Universe on track. We had Man of Steel, a fine movie. Maybe that Snyder and Goyer and crew kind of miss what the whole point of Superman is. Mm. But still, if all the complaints for Superman Returns was not enough action, well, then we're going to drown you in action in Man of Steel. And then but it's still an okay film. And then you have, of course, Matt, a film we love, Batman vs. Superman.
Right. We love it.
Dawn of Justice. Again, an okay film. Not great, but from... a solid, and now the director's cut, a solid B film for me. I know you were not a fan.
Right.
And there were hopes that Suicide Squad really is going to right the ship. The DC Cinematic Universe is now raring to go. The future is bright, right, Matt? Am I right about that?
Yeah, that's what we were hoping. We were hoping the Thors were out of the way and we were getting to some Avengers stuff right now.
Right. What's your opinion on that?
Honestly, I don't know if this righted the ship. I believe there was a huge drop-off, was roasted by critics. But I will say this. It wasn't a good film, but you know what? It wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it, I think, more than I definitely enjoyed it more than I liked Batman versus Superman, and I enjoyed it probably more than I liked Man of Steel. So I mean, yes, it had its problems. Yes, it had some tone issues. The plot wasn't always coherent, but at the end of the day, I mean, I actually had fun watching it. So I guess that's high praise from me.
I am shocked to hear you say that. I was convinced, Matt, that we were going to come into this show and you were going to say, that's it, wrap it up, put a bow on it, we're done. Let's wait 5 years and reboot. I really thought that's where you were going to go with this. So I'm excited to hear you say that. I agree with you. I feel that it's fine. I think some of the concepts work. I have some major problems with this film, and we'll get into that. But my first note when I came home after watching this film, the first thing I noted was, Matt, what's going on? What's going on? Because this thing has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 26%. Now, I know there's a whole fanboy conspiracy theory out here that somehow critics or somebody are out to get the DC cinematic universe. And I'm like, let's not be stupid, all right? They had a couple subpar films. Maybe people were burnt out, but no. Now I'm starting to wonder.
Oh, come on.
I don't think there's some grand conspiracy here. What I think it is that I think maybe critics have been trained by the Marvel films to expect a certain type of movie.
Okay.
Now, they're not getting that with the DC Cinematic Universe. What Warner has decided to do, basically, is to take these heroes and villains and this whole conceit, this whole universe, and place it in our world. Like, what would happen in the real world if these characters showed up? And I think what it is there's a distinct lack of, I don't know, what's the word? Would you say just joy? I guess in these series so far, which you shouldn't expect in this film anyway, because this is supposed to be the baddest of the bad. This is supposed to be the bad guys. Right. Now, you can interject some humor to keep the whole thing afloat because you don't want to get crushed by morose violence and self-pity and all this other crap. But still, I'm wondering if that's what it is, because these films are not that bad.
Right.
All right. This is not a 26% film. Now, I guess what you have to keep in mind is it's the algorithm, right? Right. It's how they're reading the reviews of these films, and if enough of them they feel are negative, then it drags the whole thing down. So that's the only explanation I could really come up with. How do you feel about that?
If you read a lot of the negative reviews, I mean, they're really not like just roasting the film for the most part. They're basically saying what we're saying. They're saying, yeah, it's got some serious problems, but overall, it's not that bad. But I mean, I think, like you said, Rotten Tomatoes has its limitations where it can only, I think it assigns unfairly sometimes either one way or the other, something that's too positive, like just barely on this side of positive to a positive, or, on this side of the negative to a negative. So I think that's something you got to take with a grain of salt. I'm with you. I think the main problem with the DC films is, I think that's an interesting point you bring up about that we may be trained by Marvel to expect a certain thing, like a certain kind of, fun and kind of a certain style and jokes and kind of, dramatic stakes, something very comic booky. Whereas if they're, DC seems to be trying to lend some gravitas to this whole thing. But the problem is they keep shooting themselves in the foot, is that they have somebody like Snyder who doesn't really know what he's doing with this stuff. I mean, like, yeah, he can make a good visual, but as far as the storytelling aspect, it's just not working. And then they take Suicide Squad, which the rumors say, and it seems to be true from after watching the film, that the original cut was much darker, and the suits at WB Warner's, they freaked out, and they started make them do reshoots, make them put in a little more levity, and that kind of tonal shift, like it just doesn't, it really stands out and it doesn't really work. Like, it was painfully obvious how much they were trying to ape Guardians of the Galaxy with the classic rock soundtrack on a trailer, and just like the too on the nose, like, things like songs coming up on the soundtrack, just like it just didn't work all the time. I think when they kind of just stuck with the action and what was going on, it was fine. I just think that I think that DC is just having a problem of getting out of its own way.
I think you're entirely right. And I think part of it, too, is I think some of the people that they've hired have been the wrong people. I am not a huge fan of David Ayer's work. I never have been. I think Fury's an okay film.
Right.
He got a lot of praise for it. That's the Brad Pitt tank movie.
Yep.
End of Watch is okay. You know, I'm not a huge fan of his work. So, and then, of course, we have the issue with Zack Snyder after Sucker Punch. If you want to hear one of the greatest episodes of this show, you track down that Sucker Punch episode.
That was hilarious just because we were arguing about different reasons why we thought it was bad.
But yeah, it's not. I think that's part of the problem. One of the issues I've said too is you have to get Goyer out of the house. He's one of the huge issues with this whole franchise. Snyder's another problem with it too. And then it's just, I don't know if they're hiring the right people. So, but as you said, yeah, the film is fine. I agree with you with the Guardians of the Galaxy apes as well. I think that's a bit of an issue. I have two major other problems with this film as well. I think the tone issues that you pointed out are fair too. I think the Joker is horribly misused in this film. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, there's basically a Joker cut of this movie where there's like, what, a half hour? They actually say they can make a whole movie out of all the stuff they cut with the Joker.
Right.
But casting him as a gangster crime lord,
right,
I understand if you want to do different interpretations, and I have no problem. I think Leto's fine. It's just that his character arc makes no sense for what he's doing. The madness and the anarchy that he's supposed to represent cannot run a criminal empire. All right,
right.
Those things are not cohesive, or that's what I'm looking for. They don't work together. All right.
Right.
That I don't know. That's fine. He's also what? He's probably in the film for about 15 minutes. He's supposed to be the chaos agent impacting the rest of the team because he's desperate to get back with Harley.
Right.
But the problem is it feels almost, it's not, they almost feel like side plots to the film, which they are, but I mean, they don't add anything to the major story, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And my other huge problem with this film, is Margot Robbie. And I'm not saying Margot Robbie's performance. I think she is fantastic in this film. I think she is one of the bright moments in this film. It's how she's treated. A few years ago, I've gotten I don't know if it's just me growing up, maturing, if the impact of my wife on me, but it's how she's portrayed in this film is upsetting to me. She is basically half naked throughout the entire film. There's one particular scene where she's wearing the hot pants and she's walking around, and Ayer basically zooms in on her ass, and it's just this woman has so much more to offer. And I feel like she's just, and now I understand she's selecting these roles. I get that.
Right.
But the way she's being used, like this, excuse me, just a lot of, her introduction really to this country was in Wolf of Wall Street. And her big thing is that she's nude, right? And that she's a sexual object in this film as well, which I think does her a disservice. I haven't seen Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. She's supposed to be fantastic in that, and she's not supposed to just to be a sex symbol like she is in this film. I don't know. I just think that she's being unfairly portrayed in these movies, and I think David Ayer did her a disservice. The clothing scene at the beginning of the film when she's getting dressed, but particularly the most obnoxious one is, like I said before, when she's walking away and everybody's checking out her butt. It was reminiscent of the scene from Star Trek Into Darkness, when they have that pointless scene with what's the actress's name? Alice Eve getting changed in the shuttle. There's no reason for that to be in that. And even Abrams have said afterwards, that was a mistake. I should not have done that. But I think it's just hot pants and butt shots. That's basically half of her performance in this film, and it's not fair to her. I think my big issue too with the film, outside of that, is the film itself underachieves. The trailers and the way it's portrayed to be is just crazy, off the wall. This is the bad guys. You know, it for me, it just didn't go far enough.
Right.
I think it could have been even crazier than it was. It just kind of settles into this typical superhero movie halfway through. And it sets it up as these are all these bad guys, and you don't know, they're unpredictable, you don't know what they're going to do. But it then kind of just settles down and just hits all the normal beats, and that's that. There's nothing fantastic or new about it. So I think that's a big issue for me, that it's an underachieving film. It does not deliver what it supposedly promises to do. And a couple key neat little nitpicks too, Matt, is Viola Davis is Amanda Waller. Does she really need to kill her staff to protect the secrets?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the tone thing. I mean, you have these kind of ultimate badass Amanda Waller, but then you've got Deadshot and Killer Croc, and then I don't know. Like, I didn't know what I really wanted in the sense of these are supposed to be, again, irredeemable bad guys that you're going to have to blow up their heads or whatever to, keep them in line. And they send them on a normal redemption arc. And like by the end, like, it's like, it's not really kind of what I'm looking for here,
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. That whole scene came out of nowhere. But I guess, at least Amanda Waller was consistent in her characterization of that she's, not going to take any crap from anybody and everybody's expendable.
I guess so. That's fine. And I think one of the good ideas was how they used the Enchantress. I like the fact that I guess we could say, I don't know if we could say, should we say spoiler stuff? But she's introduced, basically, she is the main villain of the film. So she's brought into the movie as one of the Suicide Squad, but she's able to escape that and be the main arc, except the fact that she's underwhelmed by her brother as a villain. That's a waste for me. He was wasted. I think he could have been a much more interesting, more powerful villain than he is.
Now, is he from the comics? I was not familiar with him.
I'm not familiar with him either. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not familiar with him either. So, and then another two sexualized casting. Enchantress in the comics is pretty much the way she looks in the film. So I'll let that one slide for the most part. But still, yeah, I think he was. I don't even remember what the guy's name was. But I think which is another proof that he was underwhelming. Really just some missed opportunities, some foul tips, swings and misses. But overall, it's solid, it's entertaining, it's fine. But I got to tell you, it's not memorable. There's nothing new or interesting. Will Smith's Deadshot is fine. I enjoyed him.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we did get an extra Justice Leaguer. It's not just Batman in this film, Matt. We get to see a little Flash as well. Oh, yeah, and how do I not mention this? I enjoyed Jay Courtney.
No, yeah, he wasn't that bad. Maybe you just got to throw him in an accent and he'll be fine.
Let him be the Australian Jay Courtney that he is.
Yeah.
And let him be the hard-drinking Captain Boomerang. And it worked. I didn't have an issue with it. So, Jay Courtney, golf clap to you. I don't think you've quite crossed the Tatum line, but
you're still on probation, dude.
You got a little closer. So, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt, what do you think? Any other thoughts there? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say this. So I know at the beginning of the segment you mentioned that you expected me to say that this is, just give it a rest, DC. I don't know if we're quite there, but they're on really shaky ground. I mean, I think this is, I think it's fine. It's entertaining, but like you said, it's not memorable, and it's not something that I'm going to think about, or be like, man, I want to watch that movie again. So, yeah, I mean, they're not in good. It didn't put them in any better position, and now everything rests on Wonder Woman and Justice League. So
I got to tell you, Matt, the Wonder Woman trailer is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
But I've serious concerns about that movie. I do. I think because the woman who directed it has basically did one film, Monster, which got Charlize Theron an Oscar.
Right.
But I don't know. She also hasn't directed anything in 7 years?
Right.
I'm nervous. I think it's great that you have a woman helming that film. I think it's important. It's the right idea. I don't know. I've been so beat down by these awesome trailers and underwhelming films. Man of Steel being, of course, the worst of all. I'm sorry, no. Superman Returns, which is not part of this grouping, is the worst of all time.
Yeah.
But Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, that whole thing when they revealed in the big climactic action set piece for me, not the Doomsday stuff, but the Batman assault in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Which was in the final trailer, which to this day I still can't wrap my head around why they did that. But it's just, I don't know. I'm nervous. And we'll see what happens. Who knows? What may end up saving this whole thing? It's going to be Shazam. For all I know.
It's going to be Shazam? Well, I mean, you know what? I think I have real faith if the best part of Batman vs Superman was Affleck's Batman, and if they're doing a standalone Affleck Batman film, it'll be interesting to see if they bring Leto back or Robbie back as those villains. Or Robbie, excuse me. But yeah, I think at this point, I like what I saw from Justice League, but who we've been glaringly missing so far? is Superman, and I think he's really the weak link of that whole cast. So it'll be really interesting to see when they bring him in, what's going to happen to that film.
Well, they did a couple. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Henry Cavill on his Instagram posted a picture of the black suit. Not even a picture, a close up of the black suit, like a little part of the suit. If you're not familiar with the Death of Superman storyline, when he first comes back, he's in a black suit with a big silver S shield on it. So I'm sure there's going to be a black suit thing. And then he also posted a picture of the day of him meeting a couple kids on the set, and he was in the blue suit, the blue, red, and yellow suit. So he actually had the huge spit curl going too, which I kind of enjoyed seeing. But we'll see about that. And the rumors are that the Affleck Batman film is going to be an Arkham Asylum.
That could be awesome.
Adaptation-esque thing, which would be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
But we'll see if that ends up being the truth about that. Another film I'm a little concerned about is the Flash Cyborg film. It's a Flash movie that Cyborg's going to be a part of.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, Matt.
I'm nervous for you, Chris. You know, I'm just along for the ride here. I mean, these are your babies. But I will say this: at least with Suicide Squad, they beat Marvel to the punch. Now, if Marvel ever decides to do a Thunderbolts movie, they're going to be considered being ripping off the Suicide Squad. And I really like the Thunderbolts. I thought they were pretty good. So
let's be clear, too. All right, for people who don't know the history of all this, DC started all of this stuff. All right, the Cosmic Cube thing, that started with DC with Mother Box, which is what you're going to see in Justice League. All right, Thanos, no. Darkseid was first. All right, all this stuff that everybody thinks Marvel did first. See, Marvel did it first. They may be doing it chronologically, first in the movies, but the concepts in the stories, all that stuff started in DC. All right, so keep that in mind, fanboys.
Hey, well, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, come on. The DC, when the X-Men got really popular and teen characters, you started getting things like the Teen Titans and stuff like that. So they've been ripping each other off for 60 years. So it's just the way it is. So
that's true. And DC, Marvel's whole thing was they were the one that were able to take the concepts and the heroes and help you identify with them as teenagers. That was Spider-Man's whole thing. And Marvel did do that first. I will give them props for that. That is true. So, yeah. And I don't think DC really has a Spider-Man. There is no Spider-Man type character in that universe whatsoever.
This is true.
So, all right. We'll see. Whatever. Fine. Matt, so what are you telling the kids at home? Do you need to run out to the theaters to see Suicide Squad?
I don't think it's a big action movie. I mean, if you're going to watch it, I guess go ahead and watch it in the theater. It's probably more fun on the big screen. I'd give it a B-. It's got its flaws. But
I was expecting C+ from you at the most.
No, yeah, but I mean, I was pretty into it. There were parts of it I was pretty into it. So, I'm going to say B-.
All right, fair enough. I'm inclined to agree with you. I'm in the same camp. I don't know if you need to rush out to the theater to see it. I think it probably would help because some of the set pieces are pretty big at times. I think the film chugs along well. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a good idea. And I can't wait for the inevitable Slipknot film. Matt, that guy, a villain star is born.
That's very true. This is underappreciated from the DC universe. Can climb anything. There's their Spider-Man. That's their Spider-Man. That's right there.
It's horrible what they do to the Native Americans in this film. DC. Maybe that's their commentary on the genocide of the Native Americans. I'm assuming he's Native American too. He may be Hispanic or Spanish. I don't know. That's me just being a stupid, dumb white American. Okay. Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Let us know your thoughts of the Suicide Squad. I'd love to hear it. Just Society of America coming up this season on DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Very excited.
They got that TV thing on lockdown, so there you go. We got that going for them.
Man, that Legends of Tomorrow show is not very good. Maybe it'll be better in the second season.
No, and Supergirl wasn't that great either.
No. We'll see what happens. All right, Matt, coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, August 23rd. I think one of my favorite films of the year so far. Don't hold me to that. Shane Black's The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling is being released. Includes a Blu-ray DVD Ultraviolet Stream Pass, a couple featurettes. But if you haven't seen The Nice Guys, now's your big chance to check it out, Matt. I've rather enjoyed it. Digital release is already out. The Huntsman Winter's War, a sequel nobody asked for, starring Chris Hemsworth from the Snow White franchise. Is that a thing?
Apparently.
The Huntsman Winter's War includes an extended and theatrical edition. So if you loved it the first time, now you get to see an even longer version. Includes deleted scenes with commentary, a gag reel, and a bunch of other stuff. The new TV miniseries of Roots is being released as well. Includes a behind-the-scenes documentary. Ash vs. Evil Dead, Matt, getting its Blu-ray release. Best Buy has a metal pack that you can pick it up. I still haven't seen the last 3 episodes of that show. I am so ashamed about that. But I'll be picking that up to check that out. The Walking Dead Season 6 is being released as well. Best Buy gets you a lenticular cover. Target has a steelbook. Walmart has a bonus disc, which has about a half hour of footage from the Madison Square Garden premiere event of Season 6. Extended version of episode 616, audio commentaries, deleted scenes. So if you're a Walking Dead fan, you can check out Season 6. As we just said, Matt, the underwhelming DC's Legends of Tomorrow getting released as well. It's a big TV week. All 16 one-hour episodes. Like, that's a big feature. Look, we'll give you the whole season. Isn't that nice of us?
Whoa!
Part of me thinks maybe that's not such a good idea. There's a couple episodes you can trim out of that show. There's a couple episodes where nothing happened. A little featurette on Jonah Hex, so that might be interesting, a gag reel. Anyway, Legends of Tomorrow. Lucifer, another underwhelming show that totally just jettisons everything that was great about that comic book series, but it turns it into a detective procedural, which is, if you read the Mike Carey comic book, I haven't read Sandman, you read Sandman.
It was fantastic.
But the Mike Carey portrayal of Lucifer, absolutely loved. The show itself is okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Deleted scenes, the gag. Did you watch Lucifer at all?
Yeah, I actually did watch the whole thing. I mean, the cast does all right, but I mean, you're right. You can't. It's nothing like the comic. Just go into it as, you know, it's just a procedural where the dude happens to be Satan. So, you know, it's all right.
Yeah, I think a more metaphysical and philosophical show on HBO would have been a better fit. But I've been saying for years that Hellblazer needs to be on HBO. But whatever. All right. And then, of course, the season 2 of The Strain, Matt, includes deleted scenes, commentary on one of the episodes, a gag reel as well. Season 3 of The Strain's coming up. I thought season 2 was better than season 1. I think season 1, like, nothing really happened. Season 2 was better. We'll see about season 3. I don't know. What about you? Did you check out The Strain as well?
I watched the first season. I didn't watch the second season. So yeah, I don't know. I did just actually get done watching Outcast, which is Robert Kirkman's other comic series about demonic possession. It actually was a pretty good show.
I may have to check that out then too. We're just big Guillermo del Toro fans around here, so that's why I checked out The Strain. All right, Matt, new to Blu-ray, Woman in the Dunes from Criterion is being released. Includes an all-new high-definition digital restoration, a video essay, 4 short films by the director Hiroshi Tashigara's films, Hukasi, Ikebana, Tokyo, and Akko. They're also releasing Criterion that is A Taste of Honey, which is one of the big British New Wave films of the early 60s. Includes a new 4K digital restoration on that one. Midnight Run is being released on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. Includes a new 2K scan of the Interpositive film, a new featurette called Being Jack Walsh, which is an actual new interview with Robert De Niro about this film. Then a bunch of other special features ported over from previous releases. You ever seen Midnight Run?
No, I haven't actually. It's one of those gaping holes.
It's a great buddy caper comedy thing. You really should check out Midnight Run if you haven't seen it. Maybe the best. Straight to DVD pick of the week, Matt. I couldn't decide. There's 2 of them. So I'm going to pocket one for a week when we don't have a good one. And I'm going to go with, just because of the title, I'm going to go with Sharkenstein.
Ooh.
I wonder if you can figure out what this is about.
Okay.
In the final days of World War II, a secret experiment to weaponize sharks is seemingly abandoned by Nazi scientists. I don't know why, considering most of the wars were fought on land. Why wouldn't you do it? I should say at least with the Germans. In air, which sharks would not be very effective in air either, until 60 years later when a small ocean town is haunted by a mysterious creature, one built from the parts of the greatest killers in the sea, a Sharkenstein monster.
Sounds fantastic. I can't understand why these things don't get more press.
So anything in the streamings that you've been checking out lately?
No, like I said, I just finished watching Outcast.
Okay.
If you're on HBO Go, been watching Vice Principals with Danny McBride and Walton Goggins, and it's the typical kind of Danny McBride type of humor. It's actually pretty funny. I recommend anybody who likes Eastbound and Down to go check it out.
Okay. Have you seen Stranger Things yet? I want to check that out. It's supposed to be fantastic.
Dude, Stranger Things is so good. We burned through that in like a few days. It is fantastic.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, it's 80s homage to all those kind of 80s sci-fi horror films. Love it. Good.
All right, we'll have to get on that. All right, let's move on, Matt. Let's take a break and let's hear a clip from Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
We volunteered.
There's an old Vulcan proverb. Only Nixon could go to China.
How could you vouch for me? That's arrogant presumption.
My father requested that I open
I know
negotiations.
your father's the Vulcan ambassador, for heaven's sake. But you know how I feel about this. They're animals, Jim.
There is an historic opportunity here.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them.
They are dying.
Let them die. Has it occurred to you that this crew is due to stand down in 3 months? We've done our bit for king and country. You should have trusted me.
Matt, the Klingon moon Praxis has exploded. This was their main mining place where they get all their stuff to power their ships, power everything. So the Klingon Empire, Matt, is going to be dead in 50 years. 50 years. So what happens is peace talks have started. They have the Russians, the Klingons have engaged. You can see where we're going with this. Have engaged Ambassador Spock, Captain Spock, to talk to what we're going to do is we're going to escort the Prime Chancellor, Gorkin, and we're going to bring him to Federation space, and we're going to do peace talks to end hostilities between the Klingons and the Federation. And who gets to volunteer to go on that mission to escort him there? Well, of course, it's Captain Kirk, the most badass captain Starfleet has, Matt. And of course, what happens? Everything goes horribly wrong. The Chancellor is assassinated. Kirk is blamed. He gets arrested and he gets put on Rura Penthe, the prison moon planet for the Klingons. And we have to find out who assassinated the Chancellor. We have to rescue Kirk. We have to stop further assassination attempts and save the tenuous peace, the burgeoning peace between the Klingons and the Federation before an all-out war breaks out. Matt, the theory is all the even Star Treks are the best ones, the odd ones are the forgettable ones. This is part 6. This is the final voyage of the entire original crew.
Yes.
Where does Star Trek 6 come down for you? It's considered one, for me, I'll tell you, it's the second best in the series.
Yep.
Where do you come down on that? What are your thoughts on The Undiscovered Country?
I'm completely with you. I think it is the second best in the series. I think at the beginning of this, we talked about it, and I said, really, the only ones I ever really watch regularly are Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country. This one, it's arguably, to me anyway, the kind of the most philosophically Trekky. I mean, it's got action in it, it's got battles, but it's all about trying to make peace, with your galactic neighbors and all that kind of stuff. And it's really got kind of a lot of a bit of pathos in it because of more than any other films do, because this was the last one of the crew. I think it has that sign that that right amount of gravity to it and kind of bittersweet stuff going on. And it's well written, it's well acted, it's fun to watch. Like I said, it's the most Trekky. I think if Wrath of Khan wasn't so good, I would just say this is probably the best one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think that I just love this film. There's the Cold War allegory, right, about the Russians versus the United States. Was the Klingons in the U.S. and the Federation? I keep getting those things mixed up. But I think one of the strongest things about it too is it's not only has the science fiction, it's got a little action in it, but there's also has a mystery at the heart of the film. What's going on? Who assassinated the Chancellor? Is the Enterprise, or did they actually fire on the ship or not? As that mystery unfolds, it maybe peters out a little bit, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. You have some people that you have some traitors in the midst of the Federation and the Klingon Empire. You have Valeris, who is, I guess originally, Matt, it was supposed to be Savick.
Oh, okay.
But they couldn't get Kirstie Alley back again. They had talked to her about coming back. But instead we have Valeris by Kim Cattrall. I guess they didn't go with Robin Curtis. She couldn't come back either.
Okay.
So they abandoned the whole Saavik plotline, which I think would have been more interesting. It would have been a more established character. But I guess part of it too, there were concerns. I guess Roddenberry had objected to making one of the old characters, a more well-known one, be a traitor. He wasn't on board with that either, and unfortunately, he passed away before the film was actually released. What else, Matt? It's what I think one of the more interesting things about it is the mystery at the core of the film. But as you said, the cast is good. You know, I feel like sometimes there's not really much room for them to. There's no. How do I describe it? There's no growth in any of these characters, but we're over that. That's done.
Right.
This is more of a kind of a farewell. If everybody feels kind of, for me, that it's everybody's home. You know, everybody understands what's happening here, and everybody delivers. But it just feels it's a fine send off. You know, because sometimes these things kind of peter out, right? And the last films aren't typically good. You can see the age, like the example I always think of is A View to a Kill, the Bond film, where Roger Moore clearly is in his 60s, I think, at this point. You know, and it's a very weak last entry.
Right.
But I think everybody here is spot on, and it's the perfect way to go out. And then another great villain turn for me, Christopher Plummer, I think is great in this film. He's very reminiscent of me of Montalban's Khan. Just chewing up the scenery and spouting Shakespeare throughout the thing. In the original Klingon, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, I've always really enjoyed this film. I watched both versions of it. I know I said I was going to watch a director's cut of the motion picture, and I started to, but it's so damn long.
Right.
I'm still going to try and connect that, but I did watch the Undiscovered Country director's cut as well, and I think it's a better film. I don't know which one did you see? I'm assuming you just saw the theatrical version?
Yeah, I believe I've only ever seen the theatrical version, yeah.
The director's cut, I think, is better. There's more information. Like, you know, at the end when the assassin tries to kill the president?
Yeah.
He's actually revealed to be a human being. He's the guy from Benson.
Oh, yeah.
Which one that is.
Yeah.
Pull up his mask, and it's actually him. Some of the shots are different, and the line readings and stuff are different. One of the big things is the confrontation of Spock and Valeris. Instead of using the close-up shots, they're more wide-angle shots, which I think is better as well. There's also a scene where Spock and Scotty are physically inspecting the torpedoes. That's been excised from the theatrical version. And finally, they actually have a plan to rescue Kirk and McCoy that they go through. The president and some of the generals, that gets excised from the original version of the film as well. And I think one of the smartest and most interesting additions to the series, that it kills me that they didn't do this originally, was the introduction of the clock. I don't know if you noticed this, but on the bridge of the Enterprise and stuff, there's always a clock, so you know what time it is when everything is unfolding. It's just a little detail that I just found really interesting. You know, and of course, in this film, we abandon the romance that's in Star Trek V between Scotty and Uhura. I don't know if you remember that. We didn't talk about it last week.
Yes, how could I forget?
But I think it's rightfully abandoned as well. And there's no fan dances in this one.
No. No, thank God.
But and then of course, one not major problem, but one really dumb decision. It's fun in the film itself, but it makes no sense that Uhura does not know Klingon. There's a scene where they're in Klingon space, and she has to communicate with the Klingon outpost, whatever the hell it is, and they're using a dictionary or not a dictionary, but you know what I'm saying, a translating book, whatever. There's no way that she doesn't know Klingon.
At least enough. I'm with you on that one. But it is funny. It makes for a funny scene.
It is a great scene. Yeah. So that's why you let that go. And one thing too, I noticed too, watching the Blu-ray version of this, I never noticed before that when Iman's character, what the heck's her name now? I can't remember. The shapeshifter who tries to get them out of Repente, but she's really a double agent. When she becomes Captain Kirk, his eyes are still yellow. Yeah, I never noticed that before. So good job, Blu-ray. Except it's still a relatively crap transfer because all they did was remaster the 2000 DVD.
Right.
No, the only film in the series that's been redone is 2. The rest of them are basically just remastered versions of the DVD. They haven't gone back to the film elements.
Right.
So hopefully at some point they'll do that, because these films, at least 4 and 6, should get a true remaster. Anyway, it's the second best in the series. It's a lot of fun, and it's a fitting way to see the crew just fly off into the sunset, I guess.
The literal sunset. That's literally dipping behind the earth as they fly off to parts of
the quote from Peter Pan, right? So we start to the right, straight on until morning. So,
that's right. That's right. And now that you've described those missing scenes, I think I guess I did watch the director's cut. So there you go. I didn't realize it was a director's cut when I was watching it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I don't know. Like you said, it's the one I go back to the most outside of Star Trek too.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add there, Matt?
Not to this film. So do we want to give a final breakdown of how this all played out?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So mine would be 2's obviously the best. Then we'd go 6, 4, 3. I'm gonna say 1 is better than 5. The motion picture is better than 5, and I think 5 is the worst one.
Yeah, that's pretty much my rundown of it as well. I kind of, just for how gorgeous it is at times, would maybe even put motion picture ahead of Search for Spock.
Okay.
I might go 264 135.
Okay.
But I think historically I would go 264 315.
Okay.
I think that's generally what the accepted way to go to. And I feel bad for Shatner. That film has a lot of potential. I don't put all the blame on him. If you listen to last week's show, you'll hear all my thoughts about how I feel he kind of got screwed in that movie. But yeah, too clearly though. Wrath of Khan is a classic film. I really think it is. It's yeah. All right. I think that's the best way to do it. You're entirely right, Matthew.
Thanks. Doesn't happen very often on this show.
That's right. That's the end of our Star Trek marathon. Next week we may start doing our straight to DVD picks of the week. Maybe we'll work in a few of those. We're going to start with, I don't know how to pronounce it, Zombie, which is a bunch of zombie animals at a zoo, which is currently on Netflix. That's going to be the thing. We're not going to really do a lot of work to seek these crap films out.
Nope.
They have to be readily available. So that's kind of how it'll determine what ones we see. Yeah. So just email feedback@thefirstrun.com. I'm kind of sad that the marathon's over. It was fun revisiting all these films. So 50th anniversary, Star Trek. There you go, Matt. All right, Matt, let's take a break. Come back, and we're gonna do our contribution to Empire's tweet storm when they asked everybody, what are your 7 favorite movies? So you'll hear ours when we get back.
Q Branch has put together a smart-looking piece of luggage for us. We're issuing this to all 00 personnel.
An ordinary black leather case with 20 rounds of ammunition here and here. Now, if you take the top off, you'll find the ammunition inside. On the side here, flat throwing knife. Press that button there, and out she comes. Inside the case, you'll find an AR-7 folding sniper's rifle, .25 caliber, with an infrared telescopic sight. Then, if you pull out these straps, inside are 50 gold sovereigns, 25 in either side. Now, watch very carefully. An ordinary tin of talcum powder. Inside, a tear gas cartridge. That goes in the case against the side here like that. It's magnetized so it won't fall. Shut the case. Now, normally to open a case like that, you move the catches to the side. If you do, the cartridge will explode in your face. Now, to stop the cartridge exploding, turn the catches horizontally, like that. Then open normally. Now you try it.
Turn the catches like that.
That's right.
And open ordinarily.
You got it?
Yes, I think so.
Matt, I have a question for you. A few weeks ago, we decided that I had to put Drive in the Pantheon. I am no longer allowed to use Drive in any of our final segments. Does that hold still for this list?
No, I was actually going to say, when I had the chance, I was going to say that this is a list because it's your favorite films, whatever those are. You should be able to take everything off the shelf, everything that you've retired, and put it in there. Because this is personal preference. This is not something that we're lofty to. We just want to know more about you, Chris. Okay. Not that we don't know Drive is like maybe 1, 2, or 3, maybe.
So I'm a huge fan clearly of Drive. If you haven't listened to this show before, I don't know what you've been doing with your life, but yeah. So all right, well, Matt, here's the thing. How this works out. Now remember, let's keep on. These are 7 favorite films, not the best films, just the ones that are our favorites. All right. So, funnily enough, Drive would probably be for me number 7.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep it off.
Okay.
That way I can put another movie in.
Okay.
Because it's a way for me to cheat. So Drive is in my pantheon. There's a couple films, like you said, that are probably in the pantheon for me here as well, obviously. But Drive would have been my number 7. But I'm going to go with a different number 7 just so I can get another film in. In fact, I'll go first. That way you get the ultimate number 1. I'm curious to hear what that's going to be.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So, Matt, my new number 7 then is going to be Alfred Hitchcock's Rope.
Okay.
Now, I want to point out this is the only Hitchcock film in my list. You could go River Window, you could go Vertigo, you could go Psycho, Strangers on a Train, Dial M for Murder. We could do this all day. But the one I come back to the most is Rope. If you're not familiar with Rope, it's basically Hitchcock's adaptation of a play, which was based on the Leopold and Loeb case. These 2 kids who decide, you know what, we're better than everybody else, so regular rules and laws don't apply to us. So they kill one of their classmates. They stuff his body in a trunk. They invite his friends and family over, including his fiancée. They serve dinner off of the trunk. And Jimmy Stewart is there as their old school teacher as he slowly figures out something horrible has happened. The whole film has, I think, 5 or 6 cuts throughout the entire thing. So there's these long scenes of all of our actors together. You can tell when the cuts are, too, because the camera will zoom into the back of somebody, whatever the case may be. But just how the mystery of the film, the drama, the thrills, how it's basically a stage play. And Jimmy Stewart's performance, too. I mean, I love Rope. I watch it probably at least 2 times a year. And there's just all these great little flourishes and touches that Hitchcock has throughout the movie. Clearly one of my favorites. So that's my number 7, Matt, is Rope. Have you ever seen Rope?
No, but I've heard you wax poetic about it many times.
You need to watch it. You really do.
Right. So I have a feeling that these lists here are going to be interesting. I think Chris is going to have a lot of film theory, a lot of technical and story beats, and I'm going to have, just because I like it.
No. I think I'll be with you, but we'll see. All right, go ahead.
All right, so my number 7, believe it or not, I watched this the other day, and I've actually visited this multiple times, which has surprised me. But it's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I actually think might be Edgar Wright's best film. I don't know if that's a controversial statement.
Yes, it is.
I think it's better than Shaun of the Dead. I don't know if it's better than Hot Fuzz, but today I think it is better than Hot Fuzz.
Wow, see, I would go opposite order of that. I think Shaun of the Dead is better than Hot Fuzz, and I think it might be better than Scott Pilgrim.
You think so?
Yeah, though I still think here's what's funny. Out of the Cornetto trilogy, if you're not familiar, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, I think The World's End is the best film out of all 3. But I enjoy Shaun of the Dead the most.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I like Shaun of the Dead, I've seen it so many times, I don't know if it's lost some of its mood for me. Whereas Hot Fuzz, I watched it the other day and I thought it was, I forgot how much I liked that film. So
I think they're doing a sequel too to that.
Are they? Really? That's ballsy.
I saw that online, but it could not be true.
No, yeah,
but Scott Pilgrim, you think is the best film he's done, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Visually it's very creative. I love the music in it. I remember when we first. I think we did that for the show years ago. We did.
And I remember how excited you were with the 8-bit opening theme song.
Yeah, it sold me, man. I did not really know what to expect with this film, but then when I saw the Nintendo Universal theme played with a MIDI music, I was like, yes, I am on board for this. I just love the visual style of it. I think it's just a really, really fun movie. I just every time you watch it, there's some little detail to pick out or some little comic booky piece that he's brought to life. And I thought it's a really good achievement. So I think it's fun to watch.
You know what? It's funny. I've thought about watching it again because I remember when I first saw it, I loved it, and I've been kind of waxing back and forth lately. Like I should watch it again because I have this weird thing where I don't think it's as good as I remember it to be.
Right.
And I haven't been able to work up enough I don't know, interest in myself to watch it again, but I feel like I should. So maybe this will be the impetus for me. Maybe I'll try and check it out this week and report back to you. I do remember really, really loving it. And Kieran Culkin?
Yes.
I absolutely loved in that film. And what started my love affair, of course, for Mary Elizabeth Winstead too, was in that film. She's great in that movie. And of course, we get the Frank Black song too. So
on the nose.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, interesting. Number 7, huh?
Yeah.
My number 6, then, Matt, is initially I went with Rashomon. Rashomon, if you're not familiar, is a Kurosawa film. It's the first Kurosawa film I ever saw, and it's actually it ended up becoming a psychological term, the Rashomon effect, where you have a whole bunch of people who could see the same thing and have drastically different interpretations of what they saw. That's what the film's basically about. You have a thief, you have a nobleman, his wife, and then off in the distance, hidden away, is a beggar, a very poor person. What happens is the thief assaults and robs the nobleman and rapes the wife, depending on who you talk to. Another version of it is the noble. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into it because you really should see it. But as I was thinking about it, it's not my favorite Kurosawa film.
Okay.
It was the influencer. It was the start. But I got to go Seven Samurai as my number 6. An absolute classic, epic film. If you've not seen the Seven Samurai, you know what? Don't go see the Fuqua remake of the Magnificent Seven. Please. I know it's not out yet, but I'm exceptionally confident the thing's going to be a disaster. But Seven Samurai, Toshiro Mifune, you have a small village getting ransacked by this gang of outlaws. They have no money, and they go and try and get a group of people together to help protect their village. And all these samurai volunteer. They come together to help save these town folks. It's a beautiful film. It's gorgeous, fantastic performances, exciting as all hell. One of the greatest films ever made. And it's my number 6. It's one of my favorite films is The Seven Samurai. In fact, I am overdue, Matt, of a viewing of that film. I got to work that in this year. I haven't watched that thing in a few years.
Yeah, I have not seen that movie in probably, almost pushing 10 years now. I mean, it's probably been like 7-8 years.
I had that first on DVD, and then I got the upgraded DVD from Criterion where they actually split the film onto 2 discs. And then they released it on Blu-ray, putting it back on 1 disc. And I have that, and I bought that. I got it for like $10. I was so excited. So now, but I have yet to watch it since I bought it, and that was like 4 months ago. So I'm gonna have to check up with that again soon. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Seven Samurai, you want to talk about adventure? It's an all-time classic. So that's my number 6.
All right. So my number 6. If anybody's listening to the show knows I have a real affection for westerns. And I vacillated. I vacillated between 2, by probably the master. Well, not even probably the master of the western, between The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Once Upon a Time in the West. I ended up going with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Really?
I did, just because I think really it was Clint Eastwood that sold it for me. I mean, if you're thinking Sergio Leone, and you're thinking spaghetti western, you got to have Clint in there. I mean, and essentially, it's a very simple plot. It's about 3 bad guys, Tuco, Angel Eyes, and the guy with no name, or the man with no name, AKA Joe, which he's been named several times in the films, searching for a cache of Confederate gold. And it's just the shots and just what he does are just absolutely iconic. The score, is by Morricone is just fantastic. I mean, everything about this film is just beautiful. It's well acted. It's really probably one of the more perfect westerns out there. And again, you can vacillate and make an argument between Once Upon a Time in the West, but doesn't have Clint. It has Charles Bronson, but it doesn't have Clint.
Yeah, I remember I was a big fan of the Man with No Name trilogy. Like you said, though, funnily enough, he's actually named in every single one of the films.
Yeah.
But still, it's I remember because I watched those films, and you said to me, Chris, you have to see Once Upon a Time in the West, which I hadn't seen up to that point. Right. You said it was a better movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, it can't be possible. But you're right. It is a better film. Mm-hmm. I think the issue, like you said, it doesn't have Eastwood in it.
Yeah.
But Henry Fonda as the bad guy is absolutely awesome in that film. I think it's actually a superior score as well. Once Upon a Time in the West. It is a better movie. But I think I could see, if we're talking favorites, I think getting Eastwood into that, the only way to do that is with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think that's fair. Yeah. And if anybody's ever seen, though, but don't, if your spaghetti Western education is confined to the Eastwood films, you are missing out. You have to see Once Upon a Time in the West. And if you get your hands on it, the DVD, which would probably be cheaper, the transfer on that DVD is stunning. You don't need the Blu-ray. It's that clear. They did such a good job on that DVD. So, but yeah, check that out immediately. But if I were you, I probably would. I think I'd have to go Once Upon a Time if I had to choose between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You're right. It is a better film, but I don't know, man. It just, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly just has a certain magic to it. You know, that's what everybody thinks of. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just favorites. I think it's just something.
All right. My number 5, Matt. There's a collector's edition Blu-ray of this coming out shortly. It's actually it was supposed to come out in September. It's now been delayed to, I think, it's the first week of October.
Yeah.
It is my favorite horror film, and it's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Shock!
The rest of these are going to be pretty much layups at this point, I think.
Yeah.
So, if you're not familiar with The Thing, it's a remake of The Thing from Outer Space, which is based on a science fiction short story about an alien that crash lands into Earth, and he gets frozen in ice for thousands of years. And this crew of these crazy Swedes, actually Norwegians, unearth the body of this alien. The ice thaws out and it wakes up. And the key thing about this alien, man, is it can look like anybody. Mm-hmm. It can mimic whatever it wants to mimic. And it's one of the greatest whodunits or paranoia films you will ever see. It's John Carpenter's masterpiece. All right, it is. Don't give me this Halloween crap. All right, his best film is The Thing. Mm-hmm. Kurt Russell is McCready, is fantastic. The special effects are insane. I remember watching this film when I was a kid, Matt. It's one of the. It was a turn on the lights film for me when I was a kid. I was so freaked out by it that I had to turn on the lights while I was watching it. So this is one I watch a few times a year. It never gets old. It's always interesting. The interaction of you got this group of men stationed in this, or are they in the Arctic or the Antarctic? Yeah. In the Arctic.
They're in Antarctic, I think.
Antarctic?
I think so.
I've seen the thing 24 times and I can't remember. But they're all just stranded in this station trying to figure out who's the alien, who's not, who can you trust? The answer is nobody, Matt. Mm-hmm. With one of the greatest endings of any horror film you'll ever see as well. So that's my number 5 is John Carpenter's The Thing. And a fantastic score by Ennio Morricone. Mm-hmm. Heavily influenced by Carpenter and Howarth. Okay.
Well, that may come up again very shortly. We'll just have to see.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So my number 5, as I'm thinking about what my favorite films are and which ones I like to watch, I started thinking about Tarantino, and I started thinking about which one of his films I really would watch over and over. I really thought about going with Inglourious Bastards just because it has some of the greatest scenes that I've ever seen. That French farmhouse scene, and then the scene in the basement with Michael Fassbender with the Germans. Those are just some of the most tense scenes I've ever seen.
I listen, that Hans Landa scene at the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, I think, is the greatest scene Tarantino's ever done.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's incredible what he pulled off with that. But for me, it's not as cohesive like as a whole when you kind of look at it all together. Like it's got its weak moments. So I went with actually Kill Bill, and I'm counting it as one whole thing. I'm not actually counting it as the two films separated. I'm a huge fan when I was growing up of those kind of kung fu movies, samurai movies, those hyper-violent action Hong Kong movies and stuff like that. So I get the biggest thrill out of watching it, just his kind of loving homage to all this stuff, the sword fights, the garish colors, the kind of over-the-top cheesy acting, and I love every second of it, and kind of all the little pieces of what he's picking out from all the different genres that he loves, that I love as well.
There you go. Are we ever going to get the whole bloody affair here in the States? I can't understand why we haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kill Bill, that's an interesting pick. Matt, if you had to choose, which is the better film of the two parts, though?
The better film? Well, again, we'll go back to what I just said, the last one. I think Kill Bill 2, the Volume 2, is a better film, but I have more fun watching Kill Bill 1.
That's probably true. I would have to agree with that. I think 2 is my favorite of the two, though. Even overall, if I had to choose which one's my favorite, I'd probably still go part 2. But it doesn't have as much action as the first film does. But yeah, Kill Bill is an interesting. That's interesting. I'm surprised you went with Kill Bill, and maybe we'll talk about that a little later too. My number 4 is a little film we talked about just a few weeks ago, and that's Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, good one.
It's a perfect film for me. It's everything that Star Trek is about. It's Horatio Hornblower in space. It's got everything that I've ever wanted in a Star Trek film. It's Shatner on the top of his game, a fantastic villain. You have fantastic ship battles. It's just a lot of fun. And it's possibly on this list, I'll bet you, it may very well be the film I've watched the most out of all of these films. I remember, I've talked about this on the show before, Matt. I remember as a kid having Star Trek II, the soundtrack on vinyl, putting it on my parents' record player, sitting in my dad's recliner and reenacting the movie as opposed to what music was playing. I absolutely have always adored Star Trek II. It's one of my all-time favorite films. Obviously, it's my number 4. We've talked about it enough the last couple of weeks, so we'll move on. It's my number 4.
That Star Trek II, and this is the problem with this list. I mean, I could have literally had a list of other films that were, as long as my arm and could have vacillated, and that would have been on there, but it did not make the list. It did not make the list. So. All right, so my number 4 is arguably the greatest action movie of the 80s, in my opinion. And it's James Cameron's Aliens. Best sequel ever. Best science fiction sequel ever.
Whoa.
Well, okay, we can't say that. But excellent. You're right, because I'm going to blow that up on some of the later.
I was fairly confident you would be, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, incredible film. I mean, it's just the mood that he sets, the entire setting that they built out of sets. There's no CGI. It's all models and makeup, and everything's tactile and real, and it's all claustrophobic. And the action scenes are great. The lines are fantastic. All of the actors are fantastic. I mean, you gotta love Bill Paxton and just some of the iconic stuff that comes out of it that he ad-libbed out of his mouth. It's just a fun movie. And if you haven't seen Aliens, I don't know why you're even listening to this show, but it's a fantastic film.
Yeah, I think Bill Paxton alone makes that one of the most quotable films of all time. But yeah, it is a great film. Listen, it's an entirely different movie from Alien, right? Alien is a haunted house movie in space.
Right.
Aliens is a sci-fi action film. All right, yeah. It's very different movies, but it is great. I remember I must have worn out my Aliens VHS copy when I was a kid. I watched that so many damn times. But yeah, young James Horner, who did the score for Star Trek II as well, did Aliens, the score on that. You can hear it too because he reuses a lot of the same stuff. There's a lot of similarities between those two scores. What would you give, Matt, if Cameron would just abandon this Avatar crap and do another Alien movie? How awesome would that be?
Just tell Neil to be like, here, Neil, just get out of the way. I'm taking over. That would be phenomenal. I would love it.
Yeah. So I don't know how many times I've yelled, "Game over, man! Game over!" Game over. That's a good pick, Matt. My number 3. All right, now we're gonna get number 3. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
Another perfect film.
Yeah.
This is Steven Spielberg and George Lucas's homage to the serials of the 40s, 30s, and 40s. Harrison Ford, perfectly cast as Indiana Jones. It is one of the most entertaining films you will ever see. Everything is pitch perfect. You got bad guy Nazis, the easiest layup villain of all time, but still endlessly entertaining, endlessly watchable, never gets boring. I don't know how I've seen this thing 100 times, Matt, and every time I'm enraptured whenever I watch it. Mm-hmm. It's the top echelon of adventure films for me, and it's just, I don't know, it's just pitch perfect. I don't know, what can you really say about Raiders of the Lost Ark?
It's very true.
It's an absolute cinematic classic film, and it's a comfort film, like Superman 2, or for me, like Law and Order is a comfort TV show. Whenever I'm down or whatever the case may be, I pop that sucker in, and everything is all right with the world. Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's my 3.
There you go. So my number 3 is the greatest horror movie of all time, The Thing. It's I don't know what else we have to say about it. I mean, you know, it's Carpenter's best film, hands down. Just a masterclass of just suspense and paranoia. I mean, he really just infuses every scene of that film with just the kind of claustrophobia of the environment and the distrust of everybody has. And like you said, the effects, they still hold up. I mean, the makeup effects, he has all that stuff, you know, framed just in shadow or just slightly where you can't quite catch what's going on, so that it still maintains the impact. And, you know, like I said, the ending is fantastic. Although I recently got obsessed with that whole new theory of what actually happens, and I've been watching it over and over and over to see if I agree, and I'm still not sold on how that's supposed to end.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, Matt, it's practical effects.
Right.
All right. There's no CGI in this thing, or maybe I'm sure there's a little bit, but there's not a lot of CGI in this film at all. Like this is how committed they were to this, Matt. The scene when was it Topper when he's trying to bring the other guy back, using the paddles, right? Until his heart stopped. Yeah. And he puts his hands in it, and all of a sudden the things open up, and then it bites his head. They used a guy who had amputated his arms.
Right.
That's how practical it is. He had a guy who didn't have hands, so that they could do him pulling up the stumps. That's how committed they were to this stuff. All right. So, it's absolutely fantastic. And it's weird, too, when you watch The Thing, and then you watch Carpenter's films after that. You're like, what happened?
Right.
You know, I mean, some of them are okay. Like Prince of Darkness is okay. I don't know what the magic bullet was for The Thing, but everything came together perfectly in that film. And he never did anything close to being as good as that afterwards.
Yep, it is the definition of lightning in a bottle, that is for sure.
Interesting. All right, Matt. My number 2 is my Tarantino film. It's the film that I think launched all of this. I was a kid, and there used to be a second-run movie theater in Berlin in Connecticut. And so it was like a buck and a half to go see the movies, right? After they left the first-run theater, and they were run at the Berlin Twin. Pay a buck and a half, and you get to watch the film. I'd heard about how great this movie was, and I just find, well, you know what? Let's go check it out. We'll check it out. Fine. And I finally got to see it, and that's Pulp Fiction. The film, it's one of those films that changed how I see movies. And it's Tarantino's homage to those pulp crime novels, those things from back in the day. And it revitalized Bruce Willis's career, John Travolta's career, and made Sam Jackson a star. It's again, I've used this phrasing a lot today, but it's a perfect film. There isn't a flaw in that movie. Every moment of it just goes, the way it just glides from scene to scene, story to story, and then ties everything together, jumping back and forth in time as well. It's just a stunning achievement. And it inspired me to dive deeper into film. Like Rashomon is what got me into international movies. Pulp Fiction is what started my love affair for movies in general. So I will always owe a debt to it, and it's my second favorite film of all time. It's Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I've never felt so cheated as the Oscars that year. And that was the year Forrest Gump, right? And I couldn't.
No, I think it's Shakespeare in Love.
Was it Shakespeare in Love that year?
Shakespeare in Love that year, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, whatever it was, I was very pissed off when Pulp Fiction didn't win. Robbed.
Yeah, clearly. So there you go. All right, what do you got for me? What's your
my number 2? Again, we're starting to repeat ourselves here. Is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like Chris said, it really is maybe one of the most perfect films ever made. I mean, I can watch that film, and as soon as it comes on, and you've got the fade from the
Paramount Mountain,
the Paramount to the mountain. Like I'm 8 years old again, watching it on a Saturday, afternoon VHS or something. It's everything about it. Like Chris said, it never gets old. The performances are fantastic. The action scenes are incredible. It's really just, again, I wouldn't say, considering the filmmakers involved, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's lightning in a bottle, but I think it's really it's really they're at really the height of their powers in that with that film, and it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, melting Nazis. You can't really go wrong.
You can't go wrong with that.
All right, Matt. My number one is my all-time favorite film of all time. It is the greatest. It is the greatest romance film ever made. Tough guys, sensitive women. It's Casablanca. It has to be for me.
It has to be. I know.
It's my favorite film.
Yeah.
I've watched Casablanca dozens of times. Bogart is the epitome of cool. I go back and forth with cool with Cary Grant in North by Northwest sometimes, but still Bogart's expat from America in Casablanca, just slowly just drinking himself away because of the loss of the love of his life, who happens to show up trying to escape the Nazis with her husband, of all people. Just an absolutely perfect film. You have, for me, and it's one of the things too about Casablanca too, Matt, is how funny it is as well. It's, I don't know, Matt. I mean, I could talk about this thing all day. I could write a 100-page essay on this. Claude Rains, for me, as Captain Renault, is absolutely perfect. Some of the funniest things you'll ever see. Peter Lorre, Matt, it's just perfect. It's a fantastic film. It's entertaining. It's got drama. It's a thriller. It's got romance. It'll break your heart and put you on a roller coaster all at the same time. It's the greatest film ever made, I think. Citizen Kane can suck it. Casablanca is my number one.
All right. Yeah, I think I knew that was coming as soon as this list started. So, all right. So, but I bet you know what my number one is, right?
Oh yeah, it's well, I don't want to steal your thunder, but let me say this. Is it part 5, Matt?
It is part 5.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, for you, it's part 2.
Right. For me, it's part 2 because those first 3 films never happened, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, it's literally one of the most iconic science fiction films ever. It kind of brings kind of a darkness to that whole Star Wars universe. It's got one of the great reveals that's become obviously cliche, and everybody knows what it is, but it's still something that blows your mind the first time you see it, especially if you don't know what's coming, which I don't know if anybody would not know what's coming at this point. But my daughter tried to get her to watch Star Wars. She wasn't into it like 2 years ago, but then she said, I kind of want to watch it again because I'm older, so I'm very excited to pull this out and pretend.
She doesn't know, right? She doesn't know the reveal.
No, I don't think so. No.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, really, what can you say? I mean, the performances are head and shoulders above what they were in Star Wars. Everybody's better. And again, you have one of the great improvised lines of all time from Harrison Ford, being a pimp, getting frozen in carbonite.
It certainly does. Yeah, it ends on such a downer, right? As Jay says, yeah. Oh no, Randall. Excuse me, from Clerks. Randall says it's such a downer. I won't ruin that line for you either. But yeah, no, Empire is an honorable mention for me. It was hovering around 7 for a while, but yeah, no, Empire Strikes Back is a childhood favorite of mine as well. I think it's a good pick, and I felt that's exactly where you were going to go as well. Did you have any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, I had like I mentioned, Inglourious Bastards. I had Almost Famous, which I have a real affection for that.
I
film.
still have never seen that movie.
I don't even know if you would like it. I don't even know why I like it so much. I just really do. So I just I watched the hell out of that movie. Unforgiven, which I really liked, yeah, I put Dazed and Confused on here as well. I don't know why I like that movie as much as I do, but I really enjoy watching that one. Oh, and The Godfather Part 2.
There you go. For me, Godfather Part 2 is on there. Brick, Rian Johnson's film noir that takes place in a high school. That was real tough for me to cut. From Russia with Love, the James Bond film, the second Connery movie, Empire Strikes Back, and then, of course, as I talked about earlier, Kurosawa's Rashomon is the first film I ever saw of his. All right, so that's our top 7 there, Empire. Shoot us an email, everybody, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Let us know what your favorite 7 are and how you feel our 7. I think our 7 are pretty predictable, considering if you know us at all or listen to the show at all, you probably could have called most of them. Maybe not the exact order. You probably could have named all of them. So, Next week, Matt, it's Seth Rogen's animated film Sausage Party. Maybe you should take your daughter to see that one.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one to go see with her.
So we'll talk about Sausage Party, most likely zombies as well. And so that'll be interesting. Next week after that, Matt, I'm up in the air. I would really like to do Hell or High Water, which I believe is playing in your area. I double-checked, so you can check that out as well. But that's a big show for this week. Check us out on thefirstrun.com. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just do a search for The First Run. You can watch the video cast of this on YouTube as well. That's going to be the big show for this week, I think is the proper term. We're going to take an extended break, and we'll see you guys all soon.
Can't believe I kissed you. Must have been your lifelong ambition.